Cristiano Ronaldo sat alone in his luxurious home, gazing at the many trophies that lined his shelves. The golden Ballon d'Ors, the Champions League medals, the league titles. He had won everything. Yet, despite all the glory, something inside him felt incomplete. The world still called him a legend, even as he approached the final years of his career. Some said he had done everything a footballer could dream of. But deep in his heart, Ronaldo knew there was one thing left. One final challenge. It had started as a simple idea, a goal unlike anything the world had ever seen. A goal so unbelievable, so breathtaking, that people would remember it for centuries. But the idea had remained just that, an idea, until the dream came. One night, after a long day of training, Ronaldo fell into a deep sleep. In the dream, he found himself on a massive football pitch, bigger than any he had ever played on. The crowd roared louder than ever, their voices blending into an electric hum. The ball was passed to him, and he sprinted forward, faster than he ever had before. Then, at the edge of the box, he jumped. Not a normal jump, a jump that felt like he had left the world behind. Time slowed. The ball spun toward him, and with perfect precision, he struck it mid-air. The ball moved like magic, bending and twisting in ways that defied physics. It flew past the goalkeeper, past the net, and into history. As the crowd erupted in cheers, Ronaldo turned and saw the faces of people in awe. Teammates, rivals, fans, and even scientists. They weren't just celebrating a goal. They were witnessing something beyond the limits of human ability. Then he woke up. His heart pounded. His hands were shaking. He sat up in bed, replaying the dream in his mind. He could still feel the moment, the way his foot connected with the ball, the impossible trajectory it had taken. It was just a dream. Or was it a message? Ronaldo couldn't shake the feeling that this dream meant something. He had spent his entire career proving people wrong, pushing his limits, redefining what was possible. What if this was his final challenge? Could he turn the impossible into reality? The next morning, Ronaldo arrived at the training ground earlier than usual. His teammates were surprised to see him so focused. He was already legendary, yet he was training like a young player fighting for a spot on the team. He spent hours practicing his jumps, his shots, his body movements, but nothing came close to what he had seen in the dream. "What exactly are you trying to do?" asked one of his teammates, watching Ronaldo attempt a bizarre mid-air kick. "You wouldn't understand," Ronaldo replied, breathing heavily. Word spread quickly. Ronaldo was chasing something impossible. The media speculated, fans wondered, and even his coaches were confused. He was already great. Why was he pushing himself like this? But Ronaldo didn't care what they thought. He knew what he had seen. He had to make that goal real. Weeks passed, and frustration began to creep in. No matter how hard he trained, he couldn't recreate the impossible goal from his dream. That's when he decided to take a different approach. Instead of relying on instinct alone, he sought the help of experts, sports scientists, physicists, and mathematicians. He wanted to understand the science behind movement, force, gravity, and aerodynamics. At first, the experts were skeptical. "You want to break the laws of physics?" one scientist laughed. "I want to bend them," Ronaldo said with a determined look. They ran tests on his body, analyzed his jumps, and studied the way a football moves in the air. They showed him calculations and diagrams, explaining why certain movements were possible and why others were not. But Ronaldo wasn't satisfied. "There must be a way," he insisted. One scientist, an older man with sharp eyes, studied Ronaldo carefully. "You've spent your whole life proving the impossible. Maybe this is just another challenge." Those words ignited something inside Ronaldo. If science said it couldn't be done, then he would rewrite the rules. Not everyone believed in his mission. Pundits on television called him obsessed. Fans debated whether he was chasing a dream too far. Even some of his teammates thought he was wasting time. "Why not just enjoy the game? You've already done enough," a close friend told him. But Ronaldo shook his head. "This isn't about trophies. It's about proving that limits exist only until we break them." His words spread like wildfire. A young fan started an online campaign, #BelieveInTheImpossible. It caught the attention of people around the world. Scientists, Athletes and dreamers alike began to follow Ronaldo's journey. He wasn't just chasing a goal anymore. He was inspiring millions. One day, a message arrived. A famous football organizer wanted to set up a special match, a game unlike any other, featuring some of the greatest players of all time. It would be a charity event, watched by millions. And at that moment, Ronaldo knew this was it. This was his chance. If there was ever a time to attempt the impossible goal, it was now. The match was set. The world was watching. And Ronaldo had one final mission: to make his dream a reality. Cristiano Ronaldo had faced challenges all his life. Poverty as a child, doubters in his early career, age catching up with him. But this challenge was different. It wasn't about proving people wrong or winning another trophy. This was about doing something no human had ever done before. And he had only one chance. The special match, now called the Legends Game, was set for 3 months later. The greatest players of past and present would gather in a single stadium, playing not just for fun, but for history. Millions would be watching. And Ronaldo had decided. This was where he would attempt the impossible goal. But there was a problem. He still didn't know how to do it. Ronaldo had always been a machine when it came to training, but this time, he needed more than just physical strength. He had to understand his own body in ways he never had before. He brought together a team of experts, sports scientists, biomechanics specialists, and even physicists. His goal was clear: find a way to jump higher, strike the ball in an impossible way, and create a shot that defied logic. The training became brutal. First, he worked on his jump. Ronaldo was already famous for his incredible leap. He could jump higher than most basketball players. But this time, he had to go beyond. He trained with resistance bands, weighted vests, and advanced machines designed to push his legs to the absolute limit. He studied Olympic high jumpers, martial artists, and even ballet dancers, looking for secrets in how humans defied gravity. One scientist explained, "Your body is capable of more than your mind believes. The trick is training your brain to remove its limits." So Ronaldo did something extreme. He trained blindfolded. With no sight, his body had to rely purely on muscle memory and instinct. Every jump, every movement, had to be perfect without thinking. At first, he failed. Again and again, he miscalculated his landings, mistimed his kicks, and fell awkwardly. But Ronaldo never quit. After weeks, something changed. He started jumping higher, reacting faster, and landing with perfect control. His body was adapting, but jumping was only part of the equation. Next, he focused on the shot itself. In his dream, the ball had moved in an impossible way, not like a normal curve or a knuckleball, but something beyond physics. To understand it, Ronaldo met with a professor who specialized in aerodynamics. The professor showed him slow-motion videos of how footballs moved in the air. He explained how spin, speed, and the impact point on the ball could make it curve, dip, or even change direction mid-flight. But this, the professor said, pointing to a sketch of Ronaldo's dream shot, this isn't just physics. This is art. Ronaldo studied the finest details: where to hit the ball, how to angle his foot, even the precise moment of contact. He practiced striking the ball in hundreds of different ways, searching for the perfect formula. Some shots came close. Some looked strange but weren't quite right. Others failed completely. But Ronaldo had patience. He had time. And most importantly, he had belief. As Ronaldo trained, the world outside grew curious. News spread about his obsession with an impossible goal. Journalists debated whether he was chasing a fantasy. "He's already done everything," one pundit said on a sports show. "Why risk embarrassing himself?" Others weren't so quick to judge. A famous former player defended him. "This is what makes Ronaldo great. He's never satisfied. He's always searching for the next mountain to climb." Meanwhile, the hashtag Believe in the Impossible movement was growing. Fans across the world began trying their own crazy football tricks, pushing their limits, inspired by Ronaldo's pursuit of the impossible. One young boy from Brazil posted a video of himself attempting an impossible bicycle kick. Another kid in Japan tried to recreate Ronaldo's jumps. Ronaldo saw these videos, and for the first time, he realized this wasn't just about him anymore. He was making people believe. With only a few weeks left before the Legends game, Ronaldo knew he was close. His jumps were better than ever. His strikes were sharper. But something was still missing. That's when a surprising call came. It was an old rival, Lionel Messi. Messi had been retired for a while, but was one of the players invited to the Legends game. He had heard about Ronaldo's impossible goal and was curious. "You really think you can do it?" Messi asked over the phone. "I have to," Ronaldo replied. There was a pause. Then Messi said, "Meet me in Barcelona. I have something to show you." Curious, Ronaldo flew to Barcelona the next day. Messi took him to a private training ground and pointed to a young freestyler, an unknown talent with incredible skills. "This kid does things with a ball that I've never seen before," Messi said. "Maybe he can teach you something." Ronaldo watched as the young player performed tricks that seemed to defy logic. Spins, flicks, and curves that didn't seem natural. It was like the ball was a part of him. "How?" Ronaldo asked, amazed. The freestyler smiled. "It's all about feel. You're thinking too much. Forget science for a moment. Trust your instinct." It was a lesson Ronaldo didn't expect, but it was exactly what he needed. Back in training, Ronaldo combined everything he had learned. The science, the technique, and now, the feel. Something clicked. For the first time, he struck a ball, and it moved exactly like it did in his dream. A shot that seemed to pause in the air. A shot that changed direction twice. A shot that no goalkeeper could stop. He had done it. Now, all that remained was to do it in the match. With the world watching, with history on the line, the stadium was shaking. Fans were screaming, commentators were shouting, and players, both teammates and opponents, stood frozen in disbelief. Cristiano Ronaldo had done it. The impossible goal. Ronaldo stood still for a moment, his chest rising and falling. The sound around him felt distant, like an echo. His mind replayed the moment, the jump, the strike, the impossible movement of the ball. Then, his teammates rushed him. Messi was the first to reach him, laughing in shock. "That wasn't real," he said, shaking his head. "That was something from a dream." Zidane, who had seen and done incredible things in his career, just smiled. "I told you to let it come naturally," he said. Ronaldinho clapped his hands. "You just broke football, my friend." Even the opposing goalkeeper, who had just conceded the most unbelievable goal in history, walked over and patted Ronaldo on the back. "I had no chance," he admitted. Ronaldo, for the first time in a long while, was speechless. As the match continued, the stadium screens replayed the goal over and over again. Commentators couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Look at this curve. No, this double curve. The ball moves one way, then the other, and then it changes again. This is beyond physics. This isn't a goal. This is a miracle." On social media, the video spread like wildfire. Within minutes, millions of people had seen it. Some called it fake, claiming it had to be CGI. Others demanded scientists explain how it was possible. But the truth was undeniable. Cristiano Ronaldo had done something that no one in history had ever done before. When the final whistle blew, the score no longer mattered. The match ended 3-2, but all anyone could talk about was the goal. Reporters swarmed Ronaldo, desperate for an interview. "How did you do it?" one asked. Ronaldo smiled. "Hard work, belief, and maybe a little bit of magic." Messi stepped in and grabbed Ronaldo's hand, raising it in the air. "Tonight, we all witnessed history," he told the cameras. "No debates, no arguments. Ronaldo is a legend." The crowd roared. It didn't matter if you were a Ronaldo fan, a Messi fan, or a football fan in general. Everyone had just witnessed something that defied logic, and they knew it would never be forgotten. The impact of the goal wasn't just felt in the stadium. Across the globe, news channels interrupted regular programming to show the footage. Sports scientists were called in for emergency interviews. Mathematicians analyzed the flight path of the ball. A university professor in England declared, "We need to rewrite what we thought we knew about football physics." In Portugal, people flooded the streets, celebrating as if their country had won another major trophy. Nike immediately announced a special edition boot called the Impossible Strike in Ronaldo's honor. And in every corner of the world, kids and professionals alike went to their local football fields, trying to recreate what Ronaldo had done. No one could. It was something only he had mastered. Later that night, after the celebrations had died down, Ronaldo sat alone in his hotel room, watching the goal on repeat. He received a message. It was from the young boy who had sent the viral video weeks ago. The one who said, "If Ronaldo does it, it means we can all do the impossible." The message was simple. "You proved it. Now, we all believe." Ronaldo smiled, put his phone down, and looked out the window. For years, he had been chasing greatness. Tonight, he had become something more. He had become legendary. The world was still in shock. Cristiano Ronaldo's impossible goal had broken football. It had become the most-watched sports moment in history, surpassing World Cup finals, Olympic records, and even his own greatest goals. But as the days passed, something bigger happened. This wasn't just about football anymore. It was about belief. Across the world, people started using Ronaldo's moment as inspiration for their own dreams. A young sprinter in Jamaica, struggling to break his personal record, played the video every morning before training. If Ronaldo can defy physics, he told himself, I can push my limits too. An artist in Italy, who had doubted his ability to paint something truly original, took a deep breath and started his masterpiece. The impossible is possible, he whispered. A scientist in Japan, working on a breakthrough invention, used the goal as motivation to keep going when everyone told him his idea wouldn't work. Even those outside of sports or science, ordinary people, felt the impact. A single mother working 2 jobs watched the goal and told her son, if he can do the impossible, so can we. Ronaldo's strike had gone beyond football. It had become a symbol. Days after the Legends game, Ronaldo sat in his home in Portugal, looking at messages from fans, athletes, and even world leaders. Everyone wanted to talk to him. Some called him a genius, others a magician. Some even joked that he had discovered a secret law of physics. But Ronaldo wasn't thinking about any of that. He was thinking about the boy from Africa, the one who had sent him the message, "You proved it. Now, we all believe." That, more than anything, was what mattered. For years, he had pushed himself to be the best, to score goals, to win trophies, to break records. But this was different. This wasn't about trophies. This was about changing the way people see the world. Months later, Ronaldo visited a youth football academy in Lisbon. Young players surrounded him, eyes full of admiration. One brave kid asked, "Mr. Ronaldo, can you teach us the impossible goal?" Ronaldo smiled. "I can teach you how to dream. The rest, you must discover yourself." He spent hours training with them, not just teaching skills, but showing them how to believe, how to push beyond limits, how to chase the impossible. Years passed. Ronaldo eventually retired from professional football, leaving behind a legacy unmatched in history. His records, his trophies, his goals, they all remained. But the impossible goal was something different. It was played on screens in schools, in sports academies, in motivational speeches. It was studied by scientists, analyzed by athletes, and attempted by thousands. No one ever fully recreated it, because it wasn't just a goal. It was a moment, one that would live forever. And as Ronaldo sat in his home, watching a new generation of footballers rise, he smiled, because he knew he had done what he was meant to do. He had made the world believe. The end. The world was watching. As the day of the Legends game grew closer, Cristiano Ronaldo's mission became bigger than football. What had started as a personal obsession was now a global conversation. People everywhere debated the possibility of his so-called impossible goal. Could he really do it? Some believed he was chasing a fantasy. Others thought he was about to change football forever. In TV studios, sports analysts debated Ronaldo's plan. "This is ridiculous," said a well-known former coach. "Football has limits. Ronaldo has done incredible things in his career, but this is just impossible." Another pundit shook his head. "He's 40 years old. His body isn't what it used to be. Maybe 10 years ago, but now? No chance." Even some scientists who had studied Ronaldo's training had doubts. "We ran simulations," said one physics professor. "What he's attempting goes beyond what we understand about ball movement. Theoretically, it shouldn't be possible." But not everyone agreed. A younger analyst, a former footballer herself, smiled and said, Ronaldo has made a career out of proving people wrong. If anyone can do the impossible, it's him. The debate spread beyond sports. Scientists, athletes, and even psychologists discussed what Ronaldo was trying to accomplish. Could human limits really be pushed further? Could belief, training, and obsession overcome physics? While some doubted, others believed. Fans across the world showed their support through social media, using the hashtag #BelieveInTheImpossible. Videos flooded the internet of people attempting their own versions of impossible goals. Some were funny, others were impressive. A group of students in the UK used computer simulations to analyze how Ronaldo's shot could work. In Brazil, children played barefoot in the streets, trying to imitate his technique. One video, in particular, went viral. A young boy from a small African village, wearing a worn-out Ronaldo jersey, said into the camera, "They say it's impossible. But if Ronaldo does it, it means we can all do the impossible in our lives." Ronaldo saw the video, and at that moment, he realized something important. This wasn't just about him anymore. As much as he inspired millions, Ronaldo felt the weight of the pressure. He had always thrived under expectations, but this was different. This wasn't just a match, this was history. If he failed, he would be ridiculed forever. The night before the match, he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. What if I miss? What if the ball doesn't move the way it should? What if I let everyone down? For the first time, doubt crept in. Then, his phone buzzed. A message from his mother. "You have already won, my son, because you dared to dream." Ronaldo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He remembered where he came from. The streets of Madeira, the sacrifices, the struggles. He had never let fear stop him before, and he wouldn't start now. The next evening, the stadium was packed. Over 80,000 people filled the stands. The match was being broadcast in over 200 countries. Some called it the biggest football event since the World Cup final. The legends had arrived: Messi, Zidane, Ronaldinho, Beckham, and more. The greatest players from different generations, all gathered for this special event. But the spotlight was on one man. Ronaldo walked into the stadium, his face calm but his mind focused. He looked up at the giant screen above the field. It showed his name and the words, "The impossible goal?" He smirked. The match was about to begin. As the players stretched and jogged, Messi approached Ronaldo. "You look nervous," Messi teased. Ronaldo laughed. "You should be nervous too. I'm about to make history." Messi grinned. "Let's see if you can." Then, to Ronaldo's surprise, Zidane walked up. The man who had coached him at Real Madrid, the man he had won Champions League titles with. "Are you ready?" Zidane asked. Ronaldo nodded. "More than ever." Zidane put a hand on his shoulder. "Then go do what you were born to do." The whistle blew. The match had begun. The first half was entertaining, filled with brilliant moments from the legends. Messi and Ronaldinho combined for a beautiful goal. Zidane still had his magic touch. But Ronaldo wasn't thinking about any of that. He was waiting for his moment. In the second half, with the game tied 2-2, it came. His teammate intercepted a pass and played the ball forward. Ronaldo sprinted, faster than anyone else on the field. The stadium rose to its feet. This was it. He was in position. The ball was coming toward him. It was time. He jumped, and the world held its breath. The stadium was alive. Over 80,000 fans stood on their feet. Millions more watched from around the world. Everyone knew what was coming. The impossible goal. Cristiano Ronaldo was in midair, body twisting, eyes locked on the ball. Time slowed. This was his moment. Then, the goalkeeper lunged forward. A defender stretched his leg, and Ronaldo miscalculated. His foot struck the ball, but not with the precision he had trained for. Instead of bending in an impossible way, the ball soared straight over the crossbar. A loud gasp echoed across the stadium. Ronaldo landed, his heart sinking. He had spent months preparing, and in the biggest moment, he had failed. He shook his head, frustrated. The ball boy tossed him another ball, and Ronaldo kicked it away, angry at himself. Then, he heard clapping. He looked up. Messi was smiling. Zidane was nodding. Even the crowd was cheering. He wasn't sure why he had missed. But then he realized they weren't clapping for a goal. They were clapping for the attempt. Ronaldo wiped his face and took a deep breath. Not yet. But the game isn't over. The match continued. Players on both sides exchanged moments of brilliance. Ronaldinho danced with the ball, flicking passes with his usual magic. Messi curled in a shot that forced a great save. Even the older legends, like David Beckham and Thierry Henry, were showing glimpses of their past greatness. But Ronaldo wasn't thinking about the score. He was thinking about his dream. There were only 10 minutes left. If he didn't do it now, he might never get another chance. Zidane, sensing Ronaldo's frustration, walked up to him. "You're too focused on the pressure," Zidane said. "Relax. Let it come naturally." Ronaldo nodded. He had spent months chasing perfection, analyzing science, training his body. But Zidane was right. His best moments had always come from instinct. He needed to stop thinking and just play. The scoreboard showed 2-2. 5 minutes left. The ball was passed to Messi, who dribbled past one defender, then another. But instead of shooting, he looked up and saw Ronaldo making a run. Messi didn't hesitate. He chipped the ball forward, sending it high into the air. Ronaldo sprinted. This was it. This was the moment. Everything he had worked for, every training session, every sleepless night. This was it. As the ball floated toward him, Ronaldo jumped, but not just any jump. This was higher than he had ever jumped before. Higher than what should have been possible. Gasps filled the stadium as he seemed to hang in the air, suspended for a moment longer than gravity should allow. His body twisted, the perfect motion. His foot struck the ball, the perfect contact. And then, the ball moved. Not in a normal way. It curved once, then twice. The goalkeeper, already diving, adjusted mid-air, his eyes wide in shock. The ball changed direction again. It was as if the laws of physics had been rewritten. Then, bam, the net shook. Goal. Silence. Then, an explosion of noise. The stadium erupted. Fans screamed. Players grabbed their heads in disbelief, and the commentators shouted in excitement. Ronaldo stood still, breathing heavily. The world was still in shock. Cristiano Ronaldo's impossible goal had broken football. It had become the most watched sports moment in history, surpassing World Cup finals, Olympic records, and even his own greatest goals. But as the days passed, something bigger happened. This wasn't just about football anymore. It was about belief. Across the world, people started using Ronaldo's moment as inspiration for their own dreams. A young sprinter in Jamaica, struggling to break his personal record, played the video every morning before training. If Ronaldo can defy physics, he told himself, I can push my limits too. An artist in Italy, who had doubted his ability to paint something truly original, took a deep breath and started his masterpiece. The impossible is possible, he whispered. A scientist in Japan, working on a breakthrough invention, used the goal as motivation to keep going when everyone told him his idea wouldn't work. Even those outside of sports or science, ordinary people, felt the impact. A single mother working 2 jobs watched the goal and told her son, if he can do the impossible, so can we. Ronaldo's strike had gone beyond football. It had become a symbol. Days after the Legends game, Ronaldo sat in his home in Portugal, looking at messages from fans, athletes, and even world leaders. Everyone wanted to talk to him. Some called him a genius, others a magician. Some even joked that he had discovered a secret law of physics. But Ronaldo wasn't thinking about any of that. He was thinking about the boy from Africa, the one who had sent him the message, "You proved it. Now, we all believe." That, more than anything, was what mattered. For years, he had pushed himself to be the best, to score goals, to win trophies, to break records. But this was different. This wasn't about trophies. This was about changing the way people see the world. Months later, Ronaldo visited a youth football academy in Lisbon. Young players surrounded him, eyes full of admiration. One brave kid asked, "Mr. Ronaldo, can you teach us the impossible goal?" Ronaldo smiled. "I can teach you how to dream. The rest, you must discover yourself." He spent hours training with them, not just teaching skills, but showing them how to believe, how to push beyond limits, how to chase the impossible. Years passed. Ronaldo eventually retired from professional football, leaving behind a legacy unmatched in history. His records, his trophies, his goals, they all remained. But the impossible goal was something different. It was played on screens in schools, in sports academies, in motivational speeches. It was studied by scientists, analyzed by athletes, and attempted by thousands. No one ever fully recreated it, because it wasn't just a goal. It was a moment, one that would live forever. And as Ronaldo sat in his home, watching a new generation of footballers rise, he smiled, because he knew he had done what he was meant to do. He had made the world believe.